I want to bring in Steve Teitelbaum, who sent me a great email earlier today, who has a different theory about Joe Biden's face. This may seem either intrusive or trivial, but I think under the circumstances, we need to know more about Joe Biden's face. So, Steve, take it away.
I believe very much that physicians shouldn't speculate about other people's disorders, and it's tawdry to talk about it. The difference about this is I'm not proposing that he has a medical condition or disease, but you can see the scars of a facelift, and he has had a facelift. And I don't disparage that. It's what I do all the time. And most facelift patients are just normal people who want to look better. I'm in a young industry. I need to look good. I want to feel good about myself. You know, all these stereotypes about them being vain and bad are completely false. But like Carter was the first president born in a hospital, he is the first president who has had a facelift. And he's also the oldest president. And that's not a pure coincidence. He has long, probably since early VP days or just before, that's when he had the facelift. And so he's looked younger than his chronological age. And it sort of begs the question of, like, I don't think that he should have to disclose it. And I wouldn't do an interview today. I'm always asked to do interviews as so-and-so had a facelift. I would never do it, and I don't do those about celebrities, and I wouldn't do it about a politician. So this is actually being done in hindsight. We already know he's had the facelift. We already know he has intellectual issues. And so for at least 4, 8, or 12 years, he's been looking younger than he really is. And this is almost not a subject of where he is now, but how we would have perceived him differently in the past. And you know, is he, I would say, an expensive fake? And I joke because we talk about cheap fakes and deep fakes. The facelift is expensive. He is an expensive fake. He looks younger because a facelift is effective than he really is. And
Steve, let me just ask you, how do you know when he had it? Because you noticed the change?
I know when he had it in retrospect, looking at pictures when he was a senator, early, you know, he for sure had it through all of his presidency, certainly through later second term vice president years, but it's hard to find dated pictures that show a profile. It's really the profile view where you see it, where the scar comes from the top of the ear, around this little thing called the tragus, around the lobe, up the back. Now, you never see this scar, but in a lot of pictures, you see the scar in front of the ear and underneath the ear. And for what I see, the scar is a little thick and wide down here along the earlobe. It's paler than the surrounding tissue because it has less pigment. A man usually has a gap between where the beard ends, where the sideburn ends, and where the ear is. But when you pull back on the facelift, the beard then abuts the ear. You can see where he was pulled behind the neck, particularly when he leans forward. It looks tight in here. So that's how I know he had it.
Okay. So, Steve, let me ask you, if you have the procedure he had, does that last or does that require maintenance?
You will always look younger for having done it, but gravity resumes in the recovery room. So people he looks better today than his identical twin who didn't have it done. You are never required to have it done. But for those who always want to look their best and start this process in their early 50s, they may repeat it every 7 to 12 years.
And is Botox a way to maintain it, or is that a different thing?
Botox doesn't do what a facelift does. It temporarily paralyzes muscles. And when you paralyze the muscle that raises the brow or that makes you smile, you therefore reduce the crow's feet and the horizontal lines on the forehead. And I think he probably has had some Botox as well.